This is your complete guide to the modern forehand. First, let's start with the basic fundamentals. Our ready position for this shot, right? Some people wait in the forehand grip. Some people start in a continental grip. That's what I do in the ready position. So the butt of our racket is in line with our belly button, and establishing this is the most vital part because our ready position is our backswing, okay? I'm going to teach you how to turn by essentially putting no effort into it, okay? And this will set you up for success every single time. So your elbows are up and away from your body, right? The racket's at a 45-degree angle. My elbows aren't too up like this, right? I'm not hunched over because then I'm going to be tight and I won't be able to be loose and relaxed in the backswing. And I don't want to be too low either, like a little T-Rex, because then when I go to pull the racket back, my racket face is going to open up, okay? We've got certain hinges in the arm, right? There's a hinge here and a hinge here. And naturally, you know, we want to bend the arm because it feels natural. We want to tuck it in here, but we got to get it away from ourselves right from the beginning. So that starts with having that position in the ready position. It feels a little bit unnatural, but don't be too cool for school, okay? You have to get this. Now, we're gonna make a unit turn and we're gonna focus on our feet, okay? Instead of pulling the racket back. This is the worst possible thing that you could do. So on your forehand, some people start with the left hand on the throat of the racket. Some people start with it down here. You gotta get the hand to the throat, okay? And for me, I'm changing the grip. I change it over one bevel to bevel 2. And there's a separate video where you can see the grip up close. I change my grip, the butt of the racket stays in line with my belly button, and I'm pivoting my toes as I turn. Now, we want to make sure that we get sideways. And from here, right, in the ready position, our toes are facing forwards, our knees are facing forwards, and we twist the hips and the chest as a unit. See, like this. Without a racket, it would look like this. Boom. Okay? Boom. You also want to make sure that you're up on your toes. Don't let your heel touch the ground. It'll make it a lot harder to pivot for your unit turn. Okay? So once we've established that, we want to keep the left hand on the throat of the racket for as long as possible. Okay? And you're going to hold it here to keep your backswing kind of together, because the second you let go, you leave, you know, open holes for extra movements which you don't need. So you're going to turn like this, and then right when the ball bounces, you're going to let go, and the swing goes from there. Okay, and then in the next steps, we're going to, you know, get to what to do. But it's a two-part swing. It's hold on for as long as possible, and when the ball bounces, let go, and the swing goes from there. Now, there's a few more things that you need to do in your unit turn. Make sure that your shoulders are level. Okay, don't be too tipped to one side. Look at this plane that I keep. It's a tabletop. It needs to be maintained. Your legs need to be slightly bent. Okay, we don't want to go to the ball tall, then get low and have to go up. Okay? Get down to begin with so that you only have to turn this way and you're not worried about moving up and down as well. Okay? Now, once we've established our, no backswing unit turn. We're literally just doing a ready position. You want to turn, and I've pivoted my lower body, right? And you have to do something with your upper body as well in order to get more torque and power. My torso needs to go farther than my hips and my legs, because when I start the swing later on and I twist them into the shot, it's going to create this effect where your legs move from here to here, and your upper body gets an extra range of motion, almost twice as much, where it goes from here to here, even though they both end up in the exact same spot. So you don't want to miss out on this extra torque. So we get sideways with the lower body, but then we get more than sideways with the upper body, okay? Now, you want to make sure you don't keep your left hand on the racket for too long, because then you're going to end up opening the racket face, okay? So you want to bring the racket to 5:45. If this is, 12 o'clock, 0, 1, 2, and then 3, 4, 5, about 5:45 to 6 o'clock. So, boom, okay? Now, we're pretty much ready to begin the swing. So once we've done this, okay, we've pivoted on our toes, turned our entire body as a unit, we bring the racket back with the left hand to 5:45. A common, thing that players do is they pull the racket back even more, and they do what we call wrapping behind the ball. This is going to cause you to lose a lot of power. Another thing players do is they set the racket like a flashlight, okay? You really don't want to do this, because then you're going to miss out on getting lag, which we're going to cover in a second. So from here, we're going to pretend that there's a brick wall behind us. If we pull the racket back any further, we're going to miss, okay? Now, we set up at the height of the ball. So what we're going to do in the next step is called pat the dog. For a ball that's at our waist height, we're going to pat the dog in our right pocket for a right-handed player, like this, okay? We're going to let the racket fall slightly under the ball, and this motion, I'm not forcing it down like this. I'm simply letting the racket free fall, okay? Pretend you're taking all your tension and weight and then just letting it fall out of you for a second, okay? We turn, we let the racket free fall slightly under the height of the ball, and now the swing needs to start with the legs, okay? And what we're gonna do is lose all tension in our arm and feel like we throw the body. And I'm gonna show you how to do this properly in a second. But before we begin, we have to make sure that we establish what we're doing with the left arm. You really don't wanna forget about it, okay? Pretend you're a surfer trying to establish balance. A surfer doesn't surf with one arm, because then he's gonna fall in the water and become shark food. So we wanna make sure that our left arm is out and balanced as well, and it's parallel with the baseline, okay? If you notice how this arm is out, because we're gonna use it later in order to uncoil with the upper body and keep ourselves balanced, okay? And it needs to come up here so we can finish and catch the racket or not catch the racket. A lot of players, they have their own styles, but the common thread is the left arm stays out to help you maintain your balance. So from pat the dog, we don't want to take the racket and put it like this, because we're missing out on this range of motion where we get the snap, or what's called the slot, where our wrist gets back with the palm and the wrist and the lower arm into a 90-degree angle, and this is where we get the lag. But by putting the racket in the slot position before you've thrown your body, you're losing out on all this kinetic energy and your kinetic chain, which is going to give you pop and, what the pros and everyone calls lag. So we set and pat the dog, and I'm very loose right now. And then we start the body by pivoting with the toes, right? I usually recommend staying on the ground, but you can apply this principle to jumping as well, but I'll show you while I'm pivoting. We're on the toes, okay? We load on the back leg, right? So our body weight from the ready position is on both legs, and then it shifts to the back leg, right? And now the swing starts with the legs. And we go. The first thing that happens is from the ground up, the legs start to go. And then my hips, okay, and as I do this, I'm pulling my momentum in to keep myself balanced as well. From the back foot, we go. And now I start to pull my shoulder and my chest forwards. And now we can start uncoiling with the upper body, okay? And at contact point, right before contact point, I should be fully unloaded, okay? You want to feel like here, we're sitting in a chair. This is how low we should be. And we need to explode up fully before contact point in order to know that we've released all of our potential energy and we're not putting any of it to waste, okay? Now, once we do this, we want to make sure that at contact point, we don't keep dragging our chest, okay? We want to stop our chest to our target. We're going to pretend that there's a laser beam at the center of our chest. And let's say I want to hit on a straight line. My laser needs to be pointing to my target right before contact, and it needs to maintain after. And then everything keeps going past, okay? Now, I recommend stopping the hips as well, but if you're moving and running around very fast, you could end up like that or something, but make sure that your chest stops, okay? Now watch the shoulders. In the upper body uncoil, right? My front shoulder is pointing basically towards the ball, and then the shoulders, they flip. Both of the shoulders travel 180 degrees in the uncoil. Watch. Boom. Okay, my chest is still facing forwards, but this shoulder, which was originally back here, traveled 180 degrees. And the shoulders move together. So if one shoulder travels 180 degrees, so does the other one. So we traveled like this. And that's how you'll know that you've fully uncoiled into the ball. Now, for the contact point, you really don't want to break the wrist from here. Okay, we're going to be doing what in the next step is called windshield wiper, and I'll show you that in a sec. But you want to make sure that you don't break the wrist, because that's going to cause a flimsy and weak contact point, and you'll miss the ball forever, okay? You will never get it in with power and pop and consistency the way that you want. You need to pretend that you're hitting against a brick wall or you're shattering through a glass pane, right? If there was a wall here, a racket's going to be flat against it. And there's going to be some drills as well later in this module, which will help you understand what a good contact point is. But what this forces us to do is have the exact same contact point for every single swing. Okay, it's not going to change at all. So from here, what you want to do in the next step, after we've thrown our entire body through the shot, and remember our arm is extremely loose, you want to windshield wiper over the ball. And this is where we're going to get our top spin, okay? This is not a wrist roll or a flexing of the lower arm. We're turning over the shoulder, okay? And what we're actually going to do is flip the shoulders again. And that is going to be our windshield wiper. If you see this, boom, 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 okay? And from here, if your arm is fully extended at contact point like me, it's going to become bent, but this is going to be kind of a natural effect because your arm is so loose and relaxed and you're bringing it back into yourself closer to your body, so it's going to bend, okay? And your arm will rotate on an axis that is very similar to the wipers of a windshield when it's raining, okay? It looks like this from the front and it looks like this from the side. Now with the actual swing and application, it's like this. Boom, boom. From the front, it's like this. Boom, boom. I'm flipping the shoulders and I'm rolling over, okay? Now, this is going to allow you to get top spin, okay? But While you do this, in order to make sure that you don't send the ball flying long or drive it into the floor, you want to make sure that we're also following through on a basis of a consistent plane or tabletop, right? You don't want to start high and finish low. And you don't really want to start low and finish high either, because then you're not going to hit through the ball. So while we do this, we want to make sure that our head and our chest is leaning over our left foot, because when we go to finish the swing, we need to finish with our weight on the front foot, right? So we load on the back and we finish on the left foot, okay? And if I'm going to jump, it would be boom, finish on the left foot. So we always finish on, the foot that is on the non-hitting side for the forehand, right? So we're gonna go like this. Windshield wiper, follow through at the height of the ball, okay? Now, you have two options here. You can catch the racket, which I think is good, especially if you're just starting off. Just go hand to hand below your shoulder. And this is where you should be catching the ball or catching the racket every single time, just below the shoulder, right here. But if you're not, just, let it loose and relax, but at the height of the ball, okay? So boom, just below the shoulder, okay? Now, if you're hitting a ball that's really low, you don't have to come all the way up here. You could have a little bit more abbreviation and catch it sort of closer to your chest area. For a ball that's above your shoulders, we're gonna set up at the height of the ball. We don't wanna set up down here for a ball that's all the way up here. And what we wanna do, set the racket, okay, up here. So from the ready position, boom, and we swing across our body at the height of the ball. And we would finish still, at or just below the shoulder. All right. So a bonus tip, the best of the best, they barely hold the racket. You want to squeeze it at a 3 out of 10, squeeze through the entire swing, even in the ready position, okay? You want to feel like the racket can wiggle in between your fingertips. And this is going to keep it, more maneuverable, and it's going to kind of bend to your will when you're using your body to swing instead of, just using the hand. Okay, so let's go over some key concepts, okay? The legs run the show. The legs start the swing. Stop taking your racket all the way back to Alaska. The ready position is the backswing, all right? And in the backswing, in order to coil and get way more power, you want to make sure that you turn your torso and upper body more than the lower body, okay? So with the legs, we get sideways. And with the upper body, we get more than sideways. We keep the left hand on the racket until the ball bounces, and then from there, it's go time. Okay, there's a brick wall behind us, and we can't hit it. Okay, we can only go forwards. We don't set the racket in a flashlight because then it's game over. We don't get the slot. So we pat the dog, and we start with the body, and we get the slot position. Okay, we contact at a comfortable distance away. Get full arm extension, I recommend it. If you're hitting bent, that's okay as well. Just make sure this elbow is not touching your body, gliding up against your torso, okay? And adding resistance. So maintain this space, all right? Now, I also need to go over something. We swing from inside here to outside. So for a right-handed player, I'm swinging to the right of my body. You don't want to feel like we're just swinging forwards, because you'll find that your elbow will actually get stuck against your body and it'll be much harder to get arm extension. So we throw the body and we throw our racket away from ourselves, okay? So from the back, it's much easier to see. We go from inside to outside. I start here and I end here. Even if I'm bending the arm, I'm still going inside to outside, okay? We swing like this so that our shoulder can go out and away from our body. Now, I'm gonna show you a few drills to help you practice the concepts that we just went over.